Since you clicked on this video, I know you're here for one reason and one reason only, which is this.
Masters.
But are you gonna get it? Well, in this video, I will show that getting Masters nowadays is actually not that complicated. The first thing I'm gonna talk about is the draft, because in my opinion, ranked is 80% draft and 20% skilling game. Alright, so now I'm gonna give you my drafting mindset. When drafting, I always keep in mind three things: who has the first pick, bans, and matchups. Let's start from who has the first pick. What do I mean by this is that if you have the first pick, you should pick the best brawlers for that specific map. And if you do not have the first pick, you should ban the most broken brawlers in that map. Also, if you don't have the first pick, you have the last one. So you can basically every time pick a brawler that counters the opponent. This is the only advantage you have when you don't get the first pick. Now let's move on to the bans. To decide which brawlers to ban, you have to consider three things: the meta, the map and the mode, and the modifiers. You can learn about the meta by looking up which brawlers got nerfed or buffed recently, by reading the last patch note, and by watching tier lists of pro players, like the ones I will also post here on YouTube every month. Moving on to the mode or map, I can tell you that in every map there are certain brawlers that work much better than others, and those are the ones you wanna ban. So artillery brawlers and tanks respectively for maps full of walls and bushes, and obviously marksman in open maps. Alright, it's time for modifiers. In the season I'm recording this video, the modifiers are Sick Beats, Gadget Gallery, and Momentum. So how to take advantage of them? Let's start with Sick Beats. With this modifier, you want to pick brawlers that don't stun or slow the enemy, but instead, the brawlers that usually get stunned or slowed. So all the 10 class is an option. But in my opinion, Karl is the best with this modifier, because he suffers a lot from the stuns and the slows. Many brawlers can cancel his super, but with this modifier, you can't. So keep in mind Karl specifically. With the Infinite Gadget modifier, you want to go with brawlers that have very valuable gadgets. So, for example, Lily, Rico, are brawlers to keep in mind. And if you can, don't use the +1 gear, as it is gonna give you 0 value. Finally, we have the Momentum modifier. You wanna pick brawlers like Crow, Byron, and basically every brawler that does not shoot one single hit at a time, so that you can get more movement speed. Now let's move on to the matchups. Brawl Stars did us a favor and have divided all the 84 brawlers in 7 different classes. There are Damage Dealer, Assassin, Marksman, Artillery, Tank, Support, and Controller. Now, Damage Dealers counter tanks and assassins. Assassins counter marksmen and artillery. Marksmen work well in open maps. Artillery work well in closed maps. Tanks counter assassins, but they generally work well in closed maps. Support don't really counter other classes, but they work well with tanks and high HP brawlers. Controllers are good in static games like for example Alt Zone or Gem Grab, but they suffer the dynamic play of Bravo and Iced. Now obviously there are exceptions, and you will learn this only by playing ranked itself. Also, another very important thing is to pick brawlers from different classes. As for example, if you pick 3 tanks, no matter how close the map is, you will easily get countered by the damage dealers. So try to diversify your comp. I would say that this is everything you need to know to make good draft. So now let's move on to the consistency topic. Drafting after all is not that complicated, but what is so and what is stopping many of my 70k plus friends from reaching masters is tilt. You see, 7 times out of 10 you will have bad randoms. So having the strength to mentally keep playing without insulting them is one of the most powerful weapons that you will ever need to get masters. Because if you start spamming thumbs down to one of your teammates just because they are playing poorly, or because they made a terrible pick, or a very bad mistake, your brain will stop having fun playing the game itself. And it will tell you, okay, I'm done, I give up. So this is something that you have to avoid, because it will happen. You will face bad randoms, even at high levels. I got to 10k elo points, and I can tell you that even at such high elo, people are still very bad in most of the games you play. Alright, so we talked about drafting, about consistency, and about tilting. Now I will tell you the truth about Ranked. Because you see, reaching Masters for someone who has struggled and is struggling right now is not easy, even with all of this advice. And trust me, it will take time. So don't get mad if you don't get it immediately or even in a week, because the season is roughly 30 days long, and it all depends on how much effort you put in it. So I would suggest you to play Ranked as much as you can. More than ladder. Don't play ladder, because Ranked improves your overall skills. Just like watching competitive matches, which is, in my opinion, very helpful, because it makes you understand the current meta of you watching this video right now in the future, and the matchups better. You will learn much quickly how to draft, as you will not rely only on your game experience, but also on theirs. I'll give you a tip now. Save this video and watch it again when you feel like you're not making progress, because it will remind you that it is normal and it is okay not to get Masters this season or even the next one. But the most important thing, and that's something that I want you to get out of this video, is to keep trying and improving, especially your drafting skills. Because as I said at the beginning of the video, Ranked is 80% draft and 20% skill in game. This is the only way you will get better and eventually get Masters. This guide, to be honest, is not complete, because you can get Masters with this advice, but I would have a lot more to give you, especially about that 20% skill in game, of which I did not even talk about in this guide. So you can drop a comment below and tell me if you want the advanced Masters guide.